Our first two games of today are done and dusted, and with that, we find ourselves in Shopify against SSG territory. This one being incredibly important for SSG to be able to make sure that they at least qualify for the playoffs after a stage that has been quite lackluster. And considering that they were the Stage 1 NAL champions, this is probably not the position that anyone thought that they would be in.
No, not at all. I mean, SSG obviously needs a good amount of help essentially to be able to make it and lock themselves into playoffs. Obviously, they got to run through the gauntlet. Shopify Rebellion, they're a little bit closer, but at the end of the day, both teams are having their issues. Both teams are struggling on their entry a little bit, and they need to make sure that they tighten up because playoffs is a different story.
Yes, that is an absolute different beast, and Shopify, as we already touched upon, is the fact it's just that this roster started off really good, but now they're kind of finding their stumbling blocks here.
Yeah, they're definitely stumbling quite a bit, and it's really on their attacking half where the defensive half has been, the proprietor as to why they look good. But again, when we look at what there was last stage, their attacks is really what was significantly leading that charge.
Yeah, looking at the Stage 1 and Stage 2 when it comes to Shopify specifically, it's just a bit of an added difference.
Yeah, and this is an important head-to-head when you're looking at this because, yes, in the entry conversion, Shopify's doing significantly better than what Spacestation is, but when we're looking at the attacks in particular, that is where Shopify Rebellion is struggling the most. So when you're looking at this matchup, you're going to be, looking at those entries, and then you're going to be seeing if either one of these teams is walking away and turning that into a round one, where again, Shopify Rebellion is doing that better, but they are lacking in terms of those entry kills because they're lacking so hard on those attacking engagements and getting those wins underneath their belt. And there's two players that really stick out to me the most that if we can see these players start to ramp up, we then will start to see those performances change significantly for Shopify Rebellion's success. And those two players are going to be Ambi and Rexon in particular, because what we saw from Ambi in the beginning of the first Playday versus Wildcard was a tremendous performance from him. He absolutely carried that game, kept them alive. And then even for Rexon throughout Stage 1, like both those two were constantly the MVPs throughout the entire stage. This stage, they started out, being 1-3 last stage. Sorry, last stage they were 1-3 in the standings. Now they're currently sitting 18th and 19th rated player. That is a big drop off in terms of their performance. Now, when you look at them, it's not screaming anything like, oh, these guys are playing bad, but they clearly aren't playing to the same expectations that they were their previous stage, and that's due to many factors. One, they aren't, the undefeated team anymore. They obviously have hit some hurdles along the way, so of course they aren't going to be at that same level, but it's not to say that they can't be putting in a little more work, and that's where I was questioning it yesterday, is we saw Surf's resurgence in terms of his performance and being able to pop up, but that's due to the fact that players like Ambi, players like Rexon aren't in that spotlight anymore, aren't finding that success on those attacking rounds. And if we want to get Shopify Rebellion back to the state where we need them, especially going into playoffs, that is going to come off those two, and that is going to be the key of success if we're going to see this matchup go in the favor of Shopify Rebellion versus SSG.
No pressure, though, because at the end of the day, still, it is Shopify, and it's still a roster where everyone can really pop off at any given moment. But again, we would like to see these two individual players specifically, just come alive, because this is what we're used to from Stage 1. But SSG was also very much alive in Stage 1, and they're kind of like a fish dead in the water.
Yeah, I mean, during Stage 1, they only really finished, I believe it was within the top 4 going into playoffs. Playoffs is where they solidified that number 1 standing, and that's where they turned into a completely new beast. So obviously, it's not too much of a situation to worry, but getting to the playoffs, you have to be able to shake off the mistakes that they're making throughout this regular stage.
Yeah, and we saw quite a few of those yesterday against Cloud9, where there was just a lot of individual aggression rather than them playing together as a team.
Yeah, I mean, we know SSG, when things get rough, they fall back into playing very over-aggressive, and it can be a double-edged sword. Right off the rip in round 1, they played against Dark Zero. They're up 4-1 in man advantage, and obviously, here's the over-aggression, but they do it individualized. Each player just giving a fight one after the other to NJR, and NJR almost ends up bringing it back and clutching it. He brings it down to a 1v1. Thankfully, Newers is able to close it out. He gets the pick, but this is a situation where should never even have gotten this close. You just play together, play aggressive together, play safe together, whatever you want to do, that's the right response. But immediately after, they understand, okay, that was a wake-up call. We can't make mistakes like that, so let's get a lot more aggressive, but do it together. In round 5, they had an amazing rush from Benja where he jumps up the hatch, But look, you got a player on AC window. You got someone jumping in sandwich window to immediately get the plant down. And that's the calculated strength that we need to see all together, because if Benja did go down, Fultz is there for the trade. We have other players in the vicinity to be able to help because they did it all together. So again, it is a double-edged sword. When things get rough for SSG, they fall back on what they know, which is that aggression. But if they get into their own heads and do it all alone, that's where SSG makes mistakes and crumbles. And we've seen it all throughout this stage so far, and they need to stop it, especially as the games get harder with SR and M80, because they need to secure their spot into playoffs, and that's when we'll see the SSG, hopefully, that got first place in stage 1.
So then let's discuss map veto specifically. And I want to look at this more from the angle of SSG being able to potentially pick a map that doesn't necessarily force them into having to play or like rely on their own individual performances as much.
No, I mean, SSG definitely loves the smaller maps. Clubhouse, wow. I didn't think Shopify would let alone leave a Clubhouse up. But that being said, Clubhouse is a good map for SSG just because it incorporates you to have to play off of each other. Everybody knows what you're doing on Clubhouse. So again, getting aggressive on it is usually the only times where you can catch a team off guard because it is so cut and dry basic. So SSG being able to be very aggressive on a map like Club gives them that element of surprise, the element of not knowing when they're going to attack, when they're going to hit as a team.
Interesting statistic here for anyone who cares for the historic side of things here. The last time either of these teams have played Clubhouse, because it's been quite some time, for Shopify Rebellion, the last time they played it and won was back 231 days ago against Keg in the SI tournament. And then you want to go even further. Well, not further. You want to go closer. 136 days ago, they lost to, SSG lost to BNK Fear X back at the Reload Majors. So both these teams have not played Clubhouse in quite some time. So I'm sure they've obviously played it in scrims. Maybe not. It's Clubhouse. It's very simple. It's very cutthroat, dry. Just, it's who's making the least amount of mistakes. We say this all the time. And I feel like, if you want to get the upper hand here, why throw yourself, a curveball and try to play a more complex map? Just go back to the simple. Go back to the basics. Find your opponent and just see, if you can come out on top of making the least amount of mistakes and maybe catching someone off guard and collapsing onto that.
So then for predictions' sake, let's bring those up as well. I would like to start with you, Foxe.
I think SSG's going to win, just because I feel like losing to Cloud9 was a really big wake-up call to SSG. They looked very strong yesterday in their matchup, and SSG is a very big momentum team. That being said, also seeing the map, we already know SR has a very big issue when it comes to entering. Clubhouse is a very big shield map. Monty is very important to Shopify Rebellion's success when you have Troy on it. If SSG completely takes that off the board, I don't expect Canadian to be that much of a factor in this game, let alone the entry game already has issues. So without that shield on top of it, just looks like too many things on top of the other, where SR just, in my opinion, don't look like they'll have enough to be able to topple SSG's aggression.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. One, removing Troy from those shields, being able to help, facilitate around and try to get his troops and ducks in a row. And then on top of it, like you were talking about, the momentum, I think that is the biggest thing. It's not to say that Shopify Rebellion getting their win against Envy, they don't have any momentum going into it, but in terms of the dominance from the two, from one match to the other, SSG looks significantly better than the matchup, where Shopify Rebellion did look a little shaky, where Envy, I honestly said, they could have walked away had they not made little mistakes here. But again, you're on Clubhouse, it's back to basics, and I just feel like removing Troy from this picture and then already struggling on that offensive and not being able to get those opening kills does heavily favor SSG going into this matchup. So I am going to stick with SSG as my choice.
Well, you guys were wrong last game. Who knows about this one? But it looks like SSG is sitting pretty when it comes to at least the predictions from the analyst desk. And we're ready to head into the game as well with our casters, Extroika and Jesse. So guys, take it away.
One of my favorite things about the NAL is that I'm not biased at all. Jesse. Oh, okay. I would argue that you are maybe a little bit biased in this fixture. I mean, look, you're dripping in SSG merch.
Okay, Ollie, I have to tell you the story. We finished casting game 1 today while M80 versus Envy. I go look outside my door and there is a giant package from SSG. Way too big for just a hat or a t-shirt. Ollie, they shipped me a Rainbow Six Siege Cross Spacestation skateboard. I know as casters we're not supposed to be biased and all, but if you don't hear many positive Shopify Rebellion stats today, you know why.
SSG have bought you with a hoodie, a baseball cap, and a skateboard that you're going to mount on the wall, and I love it, and I wish I had the same. But I imagine that mine is in the mail, as I live across an ocean. And there is, there's no hard feelings, SSG. That's how it is. We are going to be headed into Clubhouse then for one of the more highly anticipated games of the night.
Defenders, protect your bomb.
Now, Jesse, SSG may have bought your allegiance tonight, but they do still have to win this game because for them, playoffs, it is not a guarantee at this moment. The middle of the pack in NAL is very tight indeed. Obviously, Envy dropping points today helps them a little bit, given that they are still going to be on 12 each. Wildcard also dropping points means that SSG, with a game in hand, that being this game, are in a decent position, but it doesn't take anything away from the fact that they need points if they want to secure their own spot.
Absolutely. I mean, both these teams are a little bit safer than our opponents in the last matchup, both Dark Zero and a wild card, but it's still a very close race at the top of the standings. And for Spacestation in particular, they do not have an easy super week. They play Shopify Rebellion today, which I would argue is going to be one of the toughest opponents they play all stage. And then tomorrow they play M80, the best team and last undefeated squad in stage 2. So they have a tall task. They need to be getting more points, and this is going to be their best opportunity. Tomorrow it's going to be quite tough. So we'll have to see what they can do. They're, of course, here on Clubhouse. These two teams actually met on Clubhouse back at EWC in the quarterfinals. It was a 7-5 for Spacestation after Shopify picked this map in the quarterfinals and lost 2-0. So looking for a little bit of revenge if you're an SR fan, and already we're seeing that come to blows as Spoit down below is taking some gunfights and some players here in construction as well. Canadian already very low HP.
It really isn't a map that you originally think of both these two teams when it springs to mind. Ashen getting punished there. Canadian, he was low HP to start with, saving Ambi's life, but not for long. Pulse, next player into the breach now, going to try and pick up where his teammates left off and will be able to secure that down onto Ambi. Some mistimed utility and allows Rexon to cross. Ambi might actually be good for a revive here, but no, SSG are too good on the collapse. And with Ambi being finished off from earlier, J90 can cement that 3-2 man count advantage. And we've only seen half of the round, and everything's happened upstairs in Garage. This is a basement defense. Not all the time that you get to see all the fun and games going on those rafters. But SR had opted for quite a committed extension right now. And as such, it leaves them with a lot to do, given that there's quite a lot of time, a lot of drones, and plenty of utility looking at those Bs in the hands of J90 in particular to root out these last two players.
Yeah, this is going to be a really crazy final execute. They've still got some hatches they need to open, but they don't have the hard breach for it. So Moto will remain closed through this whole round. They, of course, do have the blue hatch, and they may have kitchen open as well. But blue does seem to be the main focus. Two players, at the very least, heading this direction. It'll be Spoit to catch them first.
Or if there's one person that you want on that angle, it's going to be Spoit. The pipe just getting exploded there by J90. C4 dodged out of the way on Surf. He's had a brilliant stage so far, and with the Vector at these sort of ranges, you can't put it past him to pick up a couple of cheeky kills. Just goes for a swing on J90 there. He even let him know he was coming, and he's still good for one. Benja, he's going to fall next. Surf, he secured this 1 versus 1. Both full HP. Newers need to find this final kill now. 8 seconds left. The nade to displace him, but it doesn't matter. Surf has been ice cold in stage 2, and he continues tonight.
Davian Surf Medina with the first play of the game and the one that matters the most. Excellent late round clutch coming out on the Goyo. I mean, we've seen Surf pull off plays like that over and over again. I'm reminded of the Cafe game a couple weeks ago where he took over. Not quite as dominant, but still the MVP around 1, no doubt about it. Massive clutch to come through. Alongside Spoit, of course, down there. Spoit not securing any of those frags inside the basement, but being a good distraction to help Surf out. I really like the positioning coming through from both of them there. SSG, I think, with the numbers, they were looking like a good team there. They had a good roam clear, but the utility was really what came back to bite them. If they had more dimensions to that push, if they were able to open up Moto, that could have made all the difference. But of course, they lost their Hibana. Faults died in that roam clear, so they didn't really have all the dimensions that they were looking for. Surf was able to read into the fact that they were coming blue, and he perfectly lined them up for those shots. Probably the most consistent player on SR. Not the guy that gets all the glory, not the guy that usually has pop-off numbers, but if you ever need to rely on someone in the clutch, you're hoping you're relying on Surf.
Absolutely. A backbone of the team. And SR wouldn't be where they are this stage without him. That much is certain. SSG squandering that man count advantage in round one. I get it, they didn't have the right utility, but they should still be able to make something work with that, just given the amount of time that they had with that advantage. But unfortunately, not able to coordinate it onto those final two players. As we look toward round number two, we're going to be headed toward gym and bedroom with the typical extension into CCTV. We've got Spoit playing at the top of those cash stairs on the Azami. It's always a fun thing to try and deal with. Now, there is definitely enough hard breach, but I do always question when it's just the ace that gets brought and you're relying on tin openers. We've used those two tin openers now on Fultz to get this cash wall open. So you're expecting that those Selmas are going to get used in Jacuzzi. Great pick from Benja. Some brilliant information. He didn't need much of an invitation there to skeleton key open the wall and take Ambi out as he was just lurking around that main door.
Potential for Spoit, though. I don't think he realizes how deep Spoit is. Maybe he does now, playing passive on the doorway, not doing too much buck work. If Benja starts to rip up the floor, it could be a push from Spoit and maybe Canadian too. Canadian just gets out. No! The timing for Spoit, it couldn't have been worse. That is incredibly unlucky, and Benja drops with the hatch and eventually does get taken out. Canadian's ready for that play. Benja thought he was being sneaky with it ollie, but he just wasn't there in time. Spoit and Canadian will get back to site safely.
I kind of like that from Benja, because I feel like he lost a bit of that personality, of that aggression. Speaking of, look at Fultz's position right now. Surf's going to take Ashen down there to the canister. And oh no, Fultz pulls the pistol out at the wrong time. Nuas, you were left in the clutch last time, and we thought it was doable. This time, it's almost impossible. There's a whole minute left on the clock. The diffuser is surrendered. BP camera is going to be giving the game away right now. And the three players remaining from SR, they can just tuck up. They can play off the back of this utility, play an on-contact crossfire. The wub there on the Jacuzzi means that that isn't an option either. And these little tap fires not only diminish the ammunition for when you need to be taking multiple engagements, but they give the game away. SR, that was a firing squad that he was facing as he exited that bedroom door onto the top of the main stairs landing.
And I gotta give more credit to Shopify with how well they played that round. SSG recognized that it was a two-man rush through the bottom floor, right? They killed Ambi early on the main floor. They knew Spoit and Canadian were down inside the basement, and they thought to themselves, is this not the perfect moment to rush in towards site, push in through Logi, and get a site hit when there's only two anchors left on the bomb site? But look at Canadian on your screen, tossing the nitro from down below. He doesn't need to get all the way back to site. He just needs to be below you as you enter in through Logi. It was a critical nitro cell to take down J90. SSG thought that they could go fast in that round, thought they could catch Shopify off guard, but it was not to be. Some great Goyo placements got some good damage. The nitro from down below was really effective too, and Shopify, despite having to go quite far in that round, despite moving quite a bit, they were still on for their timing. So really nice round to come through from SR.
First two rounds feel like they've ripped us by there.
Yeah.
Second one in particular. And it was looking good for SSG for a time, and then they just hit that crank button that they often find. Sometimes it's a moment of brilliance, and other times you kind of wish that they'd not pressed it, because they just find themselves in a situation like that where you've got someone like Nuas left 1 versus 3. CCTV and Cash will be the main focus for round 3 though. And again, if we thought that the hard breach was potentially lacking in previous rounds, we haven't got anything aside from the Maverick this time. Got a couple of tin openers for Ashen. When you really start to dissect just exactly how much you want to get open and how risky it can be to start opening up these walls, it does make the job a little bit harder. Shopify's Thermite ban coming into good effect now. That's going to be the reinforcement deleted, and a nice little line of sight made as well. Flores, brilliant candidate to try and open up that wall. Of course, you've got the Bailiff on Ashen as well if you require it. It looks as though the tin openers have been used to open up this Jacuzzi side. That's going to allow J90 a bit of a line to try and hop in. But as we know, it's far from ideal using the Monty as a little hopping character. You want a bit more of a bigger hole so that they can walk through full shield extended.
Here he comes, makes it in the breach, no problem. But the fire pipe, it goes the wrong way. Nice use from Spoit, that destructible ingredient on the map being used to its full effect, clearing out that shield. It's like a free Goyo canister right as they walk in the breach. And so that will be the spearhead for SSG, removed immediately, and the defuse kit dropped. They should be able to recover it. This is obviously a full master side clear on SSG's sake. They do not want to deal with Raptors without the Capitao available to them, and they eventually trade out Spoit. So this round is recoverable, but losing that Monty is going to be a huge hit. You can see that Sens wall being played just outside the CC window. Could be massive if they clear the Mute Jammer too. Canadian finds Benjamaster, so the numbers continue to favor SSG, and Canadian is very far off site now, down in the basement, being a huge distraction.
Looks like the castle barricades are going to provide him a bit more safer passage to get back, though. You can see SSG trying to drop and take advantage of that and cut him off, but those castle barricades are going to ensure that he gets back fairly safely. Ashen can use a tin opener to start opening up that wall now as well. 45 seconds and the diffuser has been recovered. Can try and find an alternate line on into the side, but this is where you really want the Monty to start just walking in and bullying people around, because at the moment, SR aren't being given too much reason to move out of the way. Surf going to be moving Ashen out of the way as that angle on the window is now no longer being held. And with a single doorway and a tin opener as your options for pushing, for attackers, that looks pretty bleak. Yeah, you might be able to send the flash through and Nuas finds one, but really, I mean, Canadian is 1 HP, so there is a possibility right now. You can see Nuas pushing through. He needs to aggress. He needs to find these kills, but SR aren't going to give them away. Fultz does grab one onto Ambi. The diffuser now can get recovered and be attempted to be planted with 0.2 seconds remaining, but it leaves a lot for Fultz to do, and Rexon, he's there ready to collect a scrappy end, and every second being required for round number 3.
Gets a little scary in the end, but Shopify Rebellion do close out their 3rd round in a row. Again, with how many of those early engagements went their favor, you had to be feeling good about that hold. Feels really bad to get the defuse kit drop, not once, but twice in the same push. First by your Monty to a fire gas pipe, walking in Jacuzzi, and then on the CC wall, an angle, or the CC window, an angle that you specifically brought the Sens to deny, right? I mean, the whole reason, or at least a big part of the reason why Newers was on that operator was to deny the swing out from the CC window, but instead Surf was still able to hit that shot. The Mute Jammer wasn't able to get cleared out, even though Newers did have those nades, and so it just meant that that was going to be a really solid defense from Shopify Rebellion. Even if you don't see Rexon pop off inside the site, Canadian was below with a Nitro Cell, could have had an opportunity to clutch that even if Rexon lost it out. We'll get attack timeout as this game has not started the way SSG were hoping. They've also just lost a hard breacher as that ace has been removed from the board. So I wouldn't say they've struggled with the hard breach so far. That's actually probably one of the things they've done the best aside from round number 1, but it will be getting even more difficult in this one. Go back to Rexon having such a good round in round number 2. This will be his 30th time playing against SSG in his entire career. The most that he has played against any opponent through his entire long career on multiple different organizations. Win record isn't that great. He's got 8 wins against SSG, 20 losses, and a single tie. So by no means will be getting it into the win column, but could be a good game for revenge.
Going back to that kill that Spoit got with the ingredient with the fire pipe, I don't know that there's a player that I've seen that's gotten as much value out of those new ingredients as Spoit. I know it's not a stat that we track, Jesse, but he has got multiple kills with those pipes across the whole stage. He just seems to have a really keen understanding of not only where they are, but specifically how they work. You know, a couple of shots and it'll start spilling out, more shots and it'll explode. A very, very keen knowledge. There's a kill that he got on a lair game once where he was kind of baiting a little bit, ends up running around on the defense and knew that the Blackbeard was chasing him, turns around, taps the pipe, boom, the pipe blows and the Blackbeard dies. And it's another example of just making the full use of your surroundings. Really impressive to see, because I think a lot of the time, you know, and particularly until they get more popular, a lot of the time you kind of just see people sort of running past them a little bit. But he's got a very keen understanding of not only how they work, but how to get the most out of them.
Wow, more pipes here on the main stairs that will have to be dealt with. Ashen starts to pop one of them, knows that that can be useful for clearing out the player main stairs. That is going to be Ambi, who's already taken quite a bit of damage. TCSG with the Goyo on that position could be kind of tough to make anything happen, but we'll see what he can do with it. Ambi, an exceptionally talented young player. There are no roamers on this setup from Shopify Rebellion, so unlike round one, where it was a pure frag fest on the top 2 floors, this time it's going to be a bit of a slower round. You should expect SSG to get a full 5-man push together. They've brought the right ops for this. Lots of soft destruction to come through. Lots of these can openers as well. I guess it is only 2 from J9O, but then the Habana is going to be the key factor to make sure these hatches do get opened. I think Faltz's early death in round 1 was a big reason why they struggled to make that push work for them. So now that you've got your Habana, you can start to open up more angles of the attack, and a 5-man push, I think, will look pretty good for SSG.
Yeah, it should do. They've been allowed time and space to set up there, and there shouldn't really be too many excuses. One of my main worries would potentially be the fact that we've got nothing for Church Wall aside from the Hibanas. So it's not like you've got something that's, you know, big and meaty. You've not saved one of the tin openers to try and get that job done either. And that is going to provide a pocket of safety for SR to play behind. Fultz, another attempt now at getting that hatch open as Nua's just looking to cover, seeing if he can pick off anyone as they try and impact it out, but the impact's firmly in Ambi's pocket. A bit of drone work there is going to clear that commonly known Ash Rush spot at the bottom of those main stairs. But SR aren't going to be giving themselves up right now. This is very likely going to be a full 5-man execute. Benjamaster makes a bit of progress down oil. Barbed will give him away if he walks through it, and he's just looking for an opportunity, but SR are very well disciplined in these situations. Not only that, but they know how to work that utility. Nuas will find a very important kill over onto Surf, though, and that's when they start to flood in. Unfortunately for J9O, he just drops into the fire, but Benja is picking up kills of his own. 2 versus 2 now, as Ambi and Canadian are left to try and salvage this round. But remember what I mentioned, the church wall has been left solid. That isn't going to stop Fultz, though, as Canadian goes on a hefty rotate, and they are surely going to know where he's coming from. The plant just going down in the nick of time, and Canadian now left in the retake. He's got a bit of information right now, but it should be fairly straightforward, and it will be. Fultz, he doesn't miss those after getting the plant down.
Perfectly played by Spacestation. When they get that full 5-man push, it really does look pretty, and that was a great example of it. The play around blue, a little bit concerning. You know, we see J9O dropping into a pit of fire, ends up being the death of him. There are some unfortunate moves that end up happening on that side of the map, but Benjamaster really does step up big time. You mentioned just how deep he was able to get into oil, maybe stopped momentarily by the barbed wire, but when the push was coming through, when the bees were giving away information, Benja was able to hit some beautiful shots down in the basement and really start to turn that round on its head. Just the drop then coming in from J9, but then it was Benja to follow through. Ended up, I think, in a quite winnable 2v2 at the end for Shopify Rebellion. Gunfights just didn't really go their way. We saw Ambi missing a little bit with the TCSG. By no means were those easy shots to hit. And then Old Man Canadian in the 1v2, not able to find the shots with the pings. So, way it goes sometimes. I expect if we see that basement bomb set again, if we end up in overtime, Shopify would go for more of a roam strategy, because disrupting that SSG push felt like it was key to holding the basement.
Yeah, they just needed to waste a little bit of time, didn't they? SSG are relying on everything and having maximum value out of all the utility that they bring. As soon as they lose something, kind of just leave them in a position where they've got to improvise a little bit. So any advantage you can gain early on is going to be good. Even if you just go upstairs, reinforce Jacuzzi and play that and just force a little bit of hard breach to be used, it's going to work for you a little bit better further on down the road. As it stands, over toward gym and bedroom, round number 5. A little adaptation here, Benjamaster. Get him on the Deimos, why not? He's having a good game so far, 5-3. Give him the Vendetta and let him try and pick up a couple of kills. Wall should be getting opened nice and early. We've still got Spoit playing at the top of those main stairs, but a bit of electrification this time in Cash, and that is just going to slow things down. Exploit. Great Vulcan pack there on the door as well. That's another trademark of that position. You need to have something to deal with those. And whereas we saw Flora's Terror drones brought up in previous rounds, we've got nothing this time. They're relying a lot on Benja to make a successful walk up those cache stairs.
It's a really tough nut to crack with the... Okay, never mind. A swing comes through. Traded out by Canadian. Goes down as well, and the Kiba barriers eventually punched out. 2 players dead on each team now, Ollie. J9 hoping for a cutoff, but Ashen steals it first. He's outside the building, but he's able to find Ambi, and that leaves just the 2 anchors, Rexon and Surf, to try to lock things down on the site. It was pure chaos. I thought they were going to go for the time waste strategy. They had bandit batteries up on the CC wall. They had the Kibas to lock down that hard breach, but in the end, Shopify Rebellion made a call. They said, we got to swing for this, and it didn't really go their way. Rexon and Surf, lots of utility to try to hold this, but you're going up against a Monty who's going to get a lot of that space for free. You're going up against a couple of drones that are still on the board for Spacestation as well, so you really have to be solid if you're Shopify here. You're going to have to hit some great shots because SSG have a lot of advantages.
SR do have a bit of information, though. They've got a couple of bulletproofs. Sorry, they've got a bulletproof left, and they've got a couple of defaults kicking around. Faults, you've got to be careful there on the Monty. J9O with the backup, though. Is he able to grab the second? Yes, he is. If there's an SSG player that you need to rely on, it's J9O. Very consistent in those situations. A real bold play from Faults on the shield to enable it as well.
Yeah, nice little end of the round action coming out from J9O. The last time these two met in the NAL, it was map 3, the lower bracket finals. J9O dropped 15 kills on Skyscraper to secure the victory for SSG. It's been a little bit quieter since then. I unfortunately don't have the stats for his game at EWC against SR because CGG is not a very functional website, but throughout stage 2, J9O has been a little bit quieter than what we've come to expect. 0.82 KDR throughout the first 3 weeks plus 1 game. Kind of been waiting for the match where he wakes up and has a monster performance. We could be seeing that now against Shopify. Back-to-back round wins from SSG coming off the back of that really strong cash clear. Again, I'm not 100% sold on SR's decision to go for swings there. I feel like they maybe have the time to waste, but sometimes when you're a team as talented as SR, you do just have to go for those risks, right? I mean, the mechanics on at least 4 of these players are absolutely ridiculous, and you need to be abusing that if you want to win rounds on this team.
Locate and defuse the bomb.
I think that Ambi's got those mechanics as well.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder.
I mean, Canadian's 5-3 right now.
Canadians play well. I do think Canadians' mechanical skill gets over-doubted. I think it's better than people give him credit for. But it's always funny to poke fun.
Get him on the Mozzie. Loves a Mozzie.
Yeah, let him run around.
I mean, to be fair, he's doing a good job of not running around. Maybe that's the problem. Fultz is going to start to get this wall open now into CCTV. Tried and tested method of J9O. Oh my God, Fultz, that's awful. It's really not easy to do, and especially when you're terrified of getting C4'd. No one from the side of SR has shown any sort of want and need to get these C4s going. The round might be over before that wall gets open. We'll have to see. We'll tune back in for that later on. Ambi instead is going to get an opening pick over onto Benja as J9O just gets batted back at the bottom of Garage. Is this recoverable, Fultz? Like, are we going to get the wall open? He's got no blowtorch left, Jesse.
Oh, no. I mean, they have can openers, but it's too risky, right? At this point with the angles that have been made by Faults, and you can see just running around on the top floor. I'm not sure if SSG know exactly how they want to play this. They lose another body as Canadian on that main floor will find Newers. He is roaming down below. We said we might want to see him get a little bit more active. There he is. 6-3 now. Top fragging in the lobby, as we all come to expect. This will be a 3v5 push now. Very little hard breach for SSG, just having to walk in behind the Monty. In theory, maybe Faults can get a plant, and hey, with shots like that, J9O's got a good chance of getting some kills back, but lots of work still to be done, and this is very telegraphed as for what SSG want to do.
Yeah, they can set up some flank cams and give themselves a little bit of surety from behind, but realistically, SR just need to wait the clock out right now. Canadian's still got a C4 in his back pocket as well. J9O does have the tin openers. I imagine there's something on the other side of that wall that's stopping them from being used, potentially the mute jammer. J9O forced instead to push in, but they've not got the wealth of bodies to support him in that endeavor. Fultz will find one onto Rex, and that's garage control fully gained. J9O's had 2 more with the pistol. Hello, Canadian. We've said that you've been playing well. You've got to play even better now. Ashen down, 17 seconds. C4 spent and used. Eyes on the diffuser. Canadian knows what he needs to do here. He's just got to wait out the time. Can try and put some pot shots in through the floor, but needs better information, needs more active information. That plant has now gone down. Canadian can make the rotate up these cash stairs, but J9O, around on the Monty, by the way, 3 kills and a plant and can just stand in the doorway. There's nothing that's going to stop him right now, can beat him to the ground. Canadian thought he was out of the fight. It almost looked like he'd given up for a moment. He's now found himself on the right side of the diffuser, and he can bait this, disable out all he likes. But all J9O's got to do is give some presence, keep that shield up, and not get battered back. 11 seconds now. 7.5 required for the diffuse. There's now no time to come off. Regardless of the outcome, it isn't going to be enough. Canadian might have got a quad kill, but J9O won the round.
It's a brilliant little 4-piece from Canadian, all by himself, basically the whole round long, but it's his teammates that are struggling inside the site. Full man advantage. I think it was honestly a good call by Spacestation to realize, hey, our only advantage here is the Monty. We need to get some good value out of J9O. I believe a triple kill on the round coming through from the Monty. Ridiculous stuff pushing in from construction. Couple of those bodies that ended up dying in sight were really ones you'd like to have back. I know Rex and top rafters caught trying to throw out a smoke. That's unfortunate. His fault was a lot deeper than I think he expected. Genuinely no clue how J9 is getting a 2-piece inside just with the pistol as he walks in from construction. But I guess he's just like that with the Monty. Beautifully done. And I just said we might be seeing a bit of a bounce back game from J9O. It does seem like that's the case. They tied up 3-3 with 2 very streaky quarters.
Game of the stage from J9O there, really, isn't it?
So far, I'd say so. Yeah.
Playing the Monty, 3 kills with it. Like, the thing is, it wasn't even like these were 1v1s that he's like beat down to the floor and finished off.
Attackers are activated.
I have no idea what Canadian was doing either. Like, there was a red ping. I'm sure there was info. It's such a default plant spot as well. It's like right side radio door. I was convinced he was going to stop it from below. Unreal to leave the door open there, slightly ajar, and let J9O particularly barge in on the Monty. SSG got themselves a 3-3 half. And I think Fultz is probably breathing a sigh of relief with how round 6 went, because that is some mavericking to forget. Back to the custom game for you, I'm afraid, Fultz.
I can't. It's shocking that was the same round. Like, so much happened in that round. I'd completely forgotten about the CC wall. Oh, God.
That's what Fultz is hoping. He's like, no, everyone's going to remember it as the J9O 3K on Monty. No one's going to remember that I used an entire Maverick utility trying to get the wall open.
Oh, God. Well, I'm looking back to the last time these two played Clubhouse against each other. Once again, that was in Riyadh quarterfinals. It was a 7-5 win for SSG, and it came off the back of a 4-2 defensive split. So we are right on pace to repeat that result. SR will need to have better attacks this time around if they want any chance of winning this game or pushing it into overtime. I think they've got it in them. There's a reason why they wanted to come back to this map, but we'll really have to see what this looks like, and it looks like it's a rush.
Looks like it's going to be pretty fast and furious, doesn't it? Ashen's taking a ton of damage, and SR aren't wasting any time. Spoit confirms that kill onto Ashen, and Canadian is desperately trying to bear down on the blitz, but he's going to get taken out by J9O. Benja picked up 2 kills elsewhere. Oh, it might have been Canadian getting the better of J9O in the previous round to no avail, but J9O gets the kills when it matters. A quick round. Even quicker, it was dealt with by SSG.
That's really fast reactions from Spacestation, honestly. When that hatch pops in Moto, right? When the blitz is dropping in through Moto to go for that push, Benja is on red stairs. He's like on the middle of red stairs. He has to make the rotate all the way down through secret, all the way through the blue stairs, all the way back to site into armory. But he does it in the nick of time. He wastes no moments sprinting to get there so that he can start to blunt this push a little bit. And we see the frags now is in position to fire down the hallway, get a couple of absolutely critical kills. I also want to give credit to Newers in that round. Got the final kill on the Surf, but more importantly, had a castle barricade on the Moto door. I think Spacestation predicted that Shopify might go for something fast like that. You're playing a roam strategy. It's the first round of the half. Those are all the ingredients that are commonly needed for an attacking team to call for a push. So Newers puts one of those castle barricades on the Moto door, says, just in case they go for it, let's make sure they've got to go a little bit longer. And if he doesn't do that, they're in sight way faster. Benja's not able to get to blue in time, and it's a completely different round. But because they dropped Moto and had to run all the way through the hallway, it just bought them that little extra time that made the difference.
Looks like Newers might be attempting a bit of an active bandit trick here, and he's going to be successful, I think. Great use there, just removes one of the tin openers. In a meta of Siege where hard breach is so pressured, I mean, Clubhouse especially, you're expecting hard breach bans. We've had both an Ace and a Hibana removed, excuse me. So you've got tin openers and a Thermite. A bandit trick? That can be devastating. Because now what do? Do you recommit the other one to garage wall? Do you try and clear a little bit of ground to ensure it doesn't happen again? Looks at least as though, oh no, Benji gets the kill onto Canadian. How does he manage that? I thought that was a dead cert. Not only that, he gets the down onto Spoit. Oh, he was trapped. He should have been dead to rights.
Oh, and still alive. The typing does come over from Ashen. That's a massive play from Benja, and he's not even going to be punished for it. Absolutely critical. That's the last can opener, by the way. You were wondering if it would get placed back down. It can't this time. Rexon finds one back, right? Eventually trades Benja, but he's done the damage already, Ollie. He is totally fine with that. You've still got to deal with the bandit trick here on the CC wall. You're going to have to go down below. That's what Rexon's doing right at this moment. The goal is eventually going to be to take Rafters, but because you didn't get that can opener breach to see an angle up onto the window, now all of a sudden this becomes a lot more difficult too. Bandit trick should get stopped. I don't imagine Newers dies to this. Oh, with the two-brow, actually, they might still get the trick off.
Oh, this is brilliant. Newers can replace the bandit battery. The two-brow Zoto canister will remain. It can get shot off. He just picked the wrong side of the wall, unfortunate, but it's kind of inevitable that that wall is going to get open. You're just trying to buy yourselves time. I think it still leaves SSG in a very comfortable position. Still with a C4. Two Zoto canisters, great for trying to deny a little bit of a push. Rexon, though, he's got other things to say about this round. He's already had a really nice kill onto Benja, punishing him at a window. And now with garage control ready to be taken, they might be able to work with this. Big problem. Ashen is laid prone in a bit of a rat angle, and he's got a Kiba barricade supporting him, and two players are super low. That's demonstrated right there as Newers doesn't need to land many shots onto the back of Rexon to secure it. There's information now as to what's happening here inside a garage, and Ashen can rotate, still with active ADSs as well. So, I mean, Kiba barricades, ADSs, he's safe as houses right now. Zoto canister, that's the last thing you want to see when there's 15 seconds left on the clock. Ashen's just got to hit his shots. Newers has already hit his. SSG storming ahead on these defenses.
Bandit has a 75% ban rate through stage 2 on Clubhouse, at least through the first phase. And I mean, I think we're starting to find out why. Some of the cleanest Bandit play that I've seen all stage long from Newers in that round. He gets the trick off inside a garage. He then delays even more time in combination with the two-brow on the CC wall. Then once the CC wall is finally open, that's not even advantageous for Shopify because Newers is peeking it and getting kills anyways. Some nice shots from Rexon in that round, no doubt about it, but it just wasn't enough when every bit of utility went the way of SSG. And also, Benja gets a two-piece from down below, killing critical operators, Capitao and Blitz. Everything that could have gone their way went their way for Spacestation in that round. Maybe you don't want J9O to die so quickly in Rafters, but I mean, with everything else that happened, it just felt like SSG were in total control of that. Really cool ideas from the Blitz, really cool gunplay from Benja. Another player that I think has been a little bit quiet this stage, Benja and J9O, the two players on Spacestation that we honestly haven't seen a ton from. the only two players, currently the bottom two fraggers on this team, ignoring the hard support IGL of Fultz. So seeing both of them getting active has meant a disaster for the Rebellion.
SSG do have a habit of really turning it on when it matters most as well. I think they're a team that a lot of teams fear going up against in these sort of end-of-stage situations because you know what they are capable of. That's going to be a much better trick. Guaranteed to get rid of the exothermic charge there, as Benja will commit a mirror window to it. The Zoto canister doing its job. And yeah, you swap a really big hole for just a mirror window that's been popped out. And now Surf has to commit his last exothermic to that as well. Spoit, you need to be careful. Down to nearly 1 HP, and he's got the other 2 tin openers for this round. So again, another occasion where we might see hard breach utility severely lacking in the hands of Shopify. Benja there, open and pick onto Ambi. And if ever there was a day for him to step up and continue to do so, today is the day. 10 and 6, and guess what? He can just rotate himself back to construction.
The entries continue to get away from SR. It's been better than their last couple of games, but still in the critical rounds, it feels like SSG are getting away with it. And oftentimes they're not getting traded or they're getting multiple for their money. Hard breaching has been a huge issue for SR. This one won't have any problems, but they do pay for it. A second 2K entry from Benja, traded off as Ashen does die in construction, but this seems like a mirror image of the last round. You've got a far off Benjamaster getting kills left, right, and center. Rexon the only one who can seemingly answer on the side of the Rebellion, but will it be enough when everything seems to be going the way of Shopify? It doesn't seem like it.
They've just not really got anything to base themselves off right now, have they? SSG have got the man count advantage. They've got the utility advantage. They've still got a C4. Yeah, we can get in and do a little bit of droning, but I don't think anyone knows of J9O's position right now. Fultz is in a great spot as well. He can just dip in between bedroom and logistics. Canadian knows that there's going to be someone just on side of that jacuzzi wall. That drone will be dealt with. 45 seconds. They've got to cook something up pretty spectacular right now. They do still have a full wealth of Capital utility, so that could come in handy. But when you're trying to make this push just off the doors and windows, it's not going to work. Nuas punishes Canadian and almost any hope that SR had in this round. We're now asking people to go absolutely crazy to secure this. Surf, still outside of gym, will hop in, but Fultz has already rotated below. Little pre-play C4 at this point, why not? Surf will find J9O, but that gives the game away. And the job now for SSG is just don't peek him, or peek him together and let Benja collect the final kill of the round. Map point right now for SSG.
And it's back-to-back rounds where Benja's farming in the early game. It's back-to-back rounds where the Capitao is dying before it can really use that utility. I honestly feel like SSG are having such creative and strong and aggressive defensive rounds. Shopify have really struggled to get a hold on what SSG are trying to run. They've tried to set up for these pushes, but they just never have the numbers. The Capitao in particular, always getting cleared out has been a massive issue. They banned the Mira, which was doing the tricking in that last round, so that hopefully makes opening the walls easier, but then the Thermite gets banned in response. So the hard breach game just constantly being played. I really like how SSG played the operator bans in this half, removing the Ace and the Hibana, meant it so that there's really no good answer to a mirror trick, because both Maverick and Thermite really struggle with mirror windows on those walls. Maverick can be a good counter to the bandit tricking, but when it wasn't brought, we saw Newers take advantage of that. Shopify Rebellion chose to ban out Kaid plus Clash for their first 2 operator bans, and that's got to be one where you go back and you revisit that. Maybe it would have been smarter to ban the Mira first phase. Maybe it would have been smarter to ban Kaid Bandit like most teams do in their first phase, but same time, you could always say, well, what if? And then SSG end up having some ridiculous Clash plays. So there's no easy answer for Shopify Rebellion. This will be their last chance to find it. It is match point for SSG. The attack timeout's been used by Super. So what can they come up with? 6 rounds in a row from Spacestation.
It's impressive, isn't it? I think Benja's got a lot to say, really, for those rounds and how they've played out, because he's had such a great impact. Not only at the start of the round, but he's still been hanging around right to the end like we saw there in the previous one. I think the Thermite ban is just going to put even more pressure onto Shopify in a game where hard breach has really mattered for both sides. It's not just Shopify where hard breach has, you know, been able to get the job done. It's also Benja who's been able to get the job done. And I think the Thermite ban is just going to put even more pressure onto Shopify in a game where hard breach has really mattered for both sides. It's not just Shopify where hard breach has or the lack of hard breach is shown to be a bit of an issue. We've seen it multiple times with SSG, whether it was losing faults early on basement attacks or struggling to get walls open with Maverick because you're scared of getting C4'd and it's going to take a little bit longer. And then, you know, it doesn't take very many secondary pieces of hard breach to get whittled away or bandit tricked or taken out early, and all of a sudden, if you've not got the required walls open, it becomes almost impossible, and you're really waiting for your opponent to make a game-losing mistake. Big opportunity for SSG now as they go down to the basement. Having been flawless on this attack so far, and kind of as predicted, a bit more of an extension this time from SSG. It's not going to be the quick rush round that we expected in round number 7. Instead, it's going to be a little bit slower, a little bit steadier. 2 tin openers already. Yep, you've got 4 remaining. But there's at least 3 hatches that you're going to want to get open, and then there's church wall, so you do start to limit your options quite quickly. SSG doing a good job of whittling that away in the early portion of the round.
It's great coordination. Because of the mute jammers, they opened simultaneously, like a pair of eyes opening into the site, or at least opening into CC. Not sure if the information's great for Space Station. They seem to know one is inside of storage, and they are going to be able to smoke that off, but Newer strikes first, taking down Rexon instead. This top floor presence has been really a big distraction for them. It's top red where Newer's able to get that kill, and now these last couple players on SR will need to find some other way to clear these guys out. Canadian is inside Con at the moment on that blitz, moving over to the CC window where we do find Ashen. Instead, it's Ambi to get the trade onto Newers, but all eyes are on Canadian here. Can he distract for his teammates or somehow make an entry?
I mean, Ashen and Benja have got a bit of a decision to make now, because if they don't get back to site without any value, it isn't going to be a good time. And I think Fultz recognizing that just comes upstairs to bolster their position a little bit. If this is where the fight's going to go down, then so be it. SSG are going to have it here regardless of the site being downstairs. Ashen finds one, but SR strike back with 3 of their own. And now Ashen is left in the clutches. He's got a low HP Ambi to deal with. Shotgun at close range. Potential for this one. Certainly Chunks spoit down and puts him down, but not out. Ambi, only a couple of shots here and he will be out of the action. Ashen, he can rotate. He could even drop the hatch if he wants to and just entirely take this fight on his own terms, but instead he hits the swing. A huge clutch from Ashen to secure the game for SSG. What a performance we have seen tonight from these players.
A massive 1v3 from Ashen, the young gunner on SSG, and over Ambi as well. 2 players just 5 months apart in age, and they were both joining these teams at very similar times, often compared for their ridiculous mechanical ability, but Ashen was better today, as were SSG as a whole. Really creative Clubhouse coming out from them. They beat Shopify Rebellion on this map for the 2nd time this season. What a great game. The day is half over, but we still have plenty of action to come. Standby versus Cruelty awaits after this break, as well as an interview with Space Station Gaming.
What's that bomb?
Oh, hell no!
Oh, bend them hard. Bend them hard. God,
Oh, shit!
What a way for SSG to close this one out against Shopify. This is a very much needed win that they had to get under their belt in order to move up on the standings, in order to be that much closer to actually qualifying for playoffs. So let's bring in Ashen to have a bit of a discussion. First off, congratulations on that final round, but also on the win. 3 more points for you guys. That must be such a relief, because this was the super week for you guys that had the most difficult opponents to go up against.
Yeah, obviously starting the stage, I think Fultz kind of touched on it yesterday about how whenever you come back from something like an event, you want to add so much more, and then we lost sight of a lot of our original identity, and then we had a lot of talks about like confidence and just we're just so much better like individually than all these players that like if we just truly believe it and we just know, like we're just gonna beat anybody.
Okay, humble.
Right before you guys went on that huge 6-round win streak, what was the conversation like when Shopify had 1-2 rounds over you guys? Was there any doubt or anything that you guys changed up in that moment to then just lock in and smoke them?
Yeah, I think the first 3 rounds it was something different that changed each round like drastically. We couldn't really like point our finger on it. We just had to keep going through like our basics and our fundamentals, and then we knew that we would just outclass them honestly with like fundamentals and stuff. And so we just stuck to our basics and just kept it simple.
Right. I was about to say they definitely outclassed them for sure.
I was just gonna ask. Obviously, with that game, you guys are very close to qualifying for the playoffs. It all depends on the Cloud9 OXG game. That being said, are you worried at all about the Cloud9 OXG game, or are you guys just going into tomorrow to play M80 with the same mentality of beating those guys?
Yeah, I think there's no stress like watching games like that. I think, we're playing for ourselves. We said it during this game, like whenever we were trying to think about like what was going wrong for us, like we're just going to play us. And, it's just, we're just going to go tomorrow. Same game plan as, or the same way we always prepare, and then hopefully hammer hard. It's all we can do. It's all that's in our control. So.
Well, Ashton, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations on your match. That was an insane 4K at the end right there to end this series. I kind of want to get a hand check right now. Can you just hold up your hand for me? I want to see if you're shaking after that round. Oh my, he's as cold as ice.
Yeah.
He ain't shaking. Look,
that's Sonics.
That ain't nothing new. I just want to kind of talk about, so obviously Fox touched up on, depending on that Cloud9 game, if that goes in your guys' favor, you guys automatically go into playoffs. I'm curious, going into playoffs, this is theoretically speaking, what's going to be the big change, just even for yourself, obviously, from the start of this stage, and then what you're going to be doing into playoffs?
It's all confidence, because obviously we really work on the mental side of our game, and it showed a lot last stage with our resilience and stuff. That's something that has only improved, honestly, as we've played this stage. And the biggest thing for us is just confidence. Like, our fundamentals are so much better than a lot of these teams that if we just... We're so much better than these guys. We just take this fight, and then we win it. If we just believe it, then we make anything happen for us, so...
For sure, excited. We see what you guys can bring.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Humble King, but also, congrats once again. You guys can do the funniest thing tomorrow against M80, because they haven't lost a game yet. Yet being the keyword here, but we'll see about that. Thank you so much for the interview, and congrats again on today, getting an extra 3 points. We'll see you around.
Thank you. See you.
But imagine they win tomorrow against M80 and they knock that undefeated streak. It would be funny. It'd be great.
It'd be pretty good. Honestly, it's not out of the question, essentially, since SSG, the same thing with stage 1, they had some ups and downs, and then towards playoffs, even in the playoffs, they had ups and downs, and then they locked in towards the losers bracket to be able to go out, beat everybody, get first. So it's definitely a possibility for them to have taken a step back to be able to realize the position that they're in, get better, improve, and then beat M80 as well. We said this was going to be their hardest week, but so far, they're 2 for 2 on the hardest games up and coming, so they can continue it.
I think we definitely had the right pick here of choosing SSG coming into this matchup, because Shopify, I wasn't, when they started out good on their defenses, going up 3-0, it wasn't shocking by any means. Clubhouse. But then they would immediately falter and lose out those 3 rounds. That round in particular, how Benja stayed alive here, let me just ignore what I'm saying. That was insane from Benja. Like a blitz pushing you managed to kill him while blind, and then swinging the player front door into motorcycles, taking him out as well. Insane play from Benja, massive, and then the big 4K from Ashton himself. But yeah, it still is questionable for SR. On their offensive, they just can't seem to find their footing, whether that's on the opening kills. They were doing good on their defense, but only 1 opening kill when switching sides. It's not painting a good picture for them. They aren't out yet, but they still need to step it up on their attacking side.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's for the side of Shopify. But let's roll back the clip for Ashton, the one that actually, closed out this entire game.
Yeah, it was so gross. Obviously, he's holding up inside cash room. They, over the drone, they didn't really know that he was going to be there. The blitz walks in, he gets the first pump, and then he's just holding his position with his teammate. He knows he doesn't really need to go anywhere. He's in a hell in a cell. That shot was gross. This 2v1, to isolate one individual player, obviously, 1 pump. Thank God for that he was able to get that pump. Runs away, and now everything's in his position. They don't know if he drops the hatch. They don't know where he's going to be. They misdroned him on the first entry, and then the blitz walked past him, and then they had no information on the later half, and he played it very well with that over-aggressive peek.
I think it was also just very good intuition from him, playing in that mind, being like, okay, if this player's coming up red, bomb site's below him, he probably drops and turtles up, and then to go for that swing onto Spoit and grabbing that, that was just masterclass from Ashton. It just goes to show, man, this kid has it all.
Yeah, the one thing that I the one thing that I didn't like about it is nothing to do with SSG. It was the fact that Canadian on the blitz runs by him, and I think that was the biggest downfall for SR that we talked about. Without the Monty, Canadian was on the blitz, and I feel like it just didn't work out in SR's favor with trying to find kills, trying to find openings, and they were a really big struggle. But Canadian was top fragging, so shout out to the old dog. That being said,
but that's also a scary thing for the Shopify.
Exactly,
Rebellion
that's what I was
roster.
going to say.
If Troy is top fragging, which we've known him not to be the top fragger on the roster, when the top fraggers are at the bottom, I mean, someone has to step it up, which again, it was Surf and Troy this time, but again, that does not paint a good picture.
If they're doing good, the entry
at least he's still got the dog in him, I guess, in that regards.
Old dog,
but either way,
tricks.
Let's look at the schedule for today, because we're already halfway through. At this point, this was actually the game that we thought was going to be the closest, the game where we were
not thinking.
Yeah, clearly. We still have Cruelty against LFO, which I know Foxe is absolutely hyped to watch. And the final game, C9 OXG. Now, if I'm an SSG fan, that's the one that I'm keeping my eyes out on, because I want to know whether or not my team's going to playoffs.
Yeah, because if Cloud9 loses, then that solidifies SSG being in the top 6 no matter what. If Cloud9 wins, then obviously there's a whole bunch of, numbers and stuff that
still can be climbed.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's all, the pressure's on Cloud9's shoulders.
Yo, listen, someone's got to win at some point, whether that's Cruelty, whether that's LFO. I don't know. We're going to figure that out after the break, because that will be our 4th game of today. So I guess you want to stick around to see this one.